All right. Chad Szeliga, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. And yourself?
Doing well. It has been too long since we did one of these. I know we've been kind of playing a lot of text tag and phone tag trying to make it happen, and we finally did it. I'm glad to see you, man.
Yeah, we're both busy adults, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and you've been on the move lately, and I know some people who follow me probably know who you are just because if they follow any of my drumming, they know you're one of my favorites. But I'll
Oh,
give you the intro that you deserve, and that people who don't know you are going to be curious about. But Chad Szeliga is one of the best drummers on the planet. He's been the former drummer. He's best known for his work with Breaking Benjamin. He has two platinum records with them, Phobia and Dear Agony, where he drummed on those records. He's also been the drummer for Black Label Society. He drummed on their Catacombs of the Black Vatican and their Unblackened records. He's also played for Black Star Riders. He drummed on their Another State of Grace record. You've played for Scott Stapp on his Proof of Life tour. You've drummed for Adrenaline Mob. You've drummed for Stained. You've pretty much played with everybody that anybody that needs a drummer. You've pretty much played with them at some point or another. So very impressive resume. But really
thank you.
appreciate you coming on and making time to chat because I know you play all the time. You're traveling all the time, and you carved out a little time to chat with us today, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely a blessed man.
Yeah, yeah. So you're with a band now called Turning the Tide, and you guys have been busy. And I know you've kind of bounced between a few gigs, but you've been sticking with this one for a while. Tell me about
hmm
it. What is it about this band that you love, and how's it going?
I always say, you know, from selling out arenas to having platinum records, nothing beats going back to your humble roots of where you came from in a cover band, where it all originated, where you play your first song and go, man, I can't wait to play this for people, Freebird or whatever. And I think coming back almost like 360 where I started from, I feel that God puts you in spots sometimes that you don't want to be, but he needs you to work. And I've got more respect in the cover scene by fans that knew me in Breaking Ben or what have you, to see me in that kind of environment and just be gracious and love every moment, whether I'm playing in front of 12 people or if I'm playing in front of 50,000 people. People are people. The message is what I'm trying to get on off stage or on stage. And when you're blessed with the ability, like I always say this, and you've heard this 100 times from me, we're all blessed equally, just differently. And when you have that blessing, you have to shine. And you have to shine brighter than you ever shine because you never know how long that light's going to last or try to be put out. And the more you shine, the more people want to put it out. It doesn't matter where you're at in your success. It matters where you're here in your success. So I love where I'm at. I know I was destined right now in our journey because we all have journeys, we all have seasons. And this right now is my season with Turning the Tide.
One thing I love about you, man, is there are no surface level conversations with you. Everything goes to like a deep faith level, and it's probably why it's one of my favorite. You're one of my favorite people to talk to because of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
But
mean, you got to put him first. And none
yeah,
of us would be where we're at, even through, like I say, the journey of life, the ups and down roller coasters. And I give the Lord the glory because he's watched me endure through a lot as you have endured a lot. And without him, I don't know where I would be, you know?
yeah, and I definitely want to talk some about faith today because you're a unique guy. You are a
I'm
sober.
definitely unique is definitely the word.
You're unique
I
in a
will
lot of
admit
ways.
that.
Yeah, but for your profession, you're unique in that you don't drink, you don't do drugs,
Mm-mm.
That's one thing that surprised me about you when I met you is you
I
are stone.
vape, which is still bad, but
Yeah, but you're not, you're not getting
no.
drunk, you're not getting high, and you're also
Mm-mm.
a Christian, and you're not a quiet Christian either. Like I've seen you have tough,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah, I've seen you have some tough confrontational conversations with people, from a faith place, and so I do want to get into that. But
Mhm.
first thing I'm curious about is when did you know you wanted to be a pro drummer, and then how the heck did you get so good? I mean, what was that process?
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, you know, we're all designed in God's image of what He wants us to do, whether we like it or not. Like I always say, God told Noah to build an ark. I'm sure he wasn't too hyped about that. He didn't have YouTube or a manual to build an ark, right? So I feel that the Lord chose everybody a gift, whether it's speaking, drumming, adjusting, preaching, whatever gift you were received, you go over and beyond it and you put in the dedication, the sacrifices, all that stuff. So at a young age, you know, have you been with somebody that is a musician, but no one in the family plays an instrument?
That's me.
Correct. So genetically, you get a gene from mom, you get a gene from dad, right? We'll go scientific route. It comes together. Casey comes out. Go, 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 gaga, right? What made you become a drummer? None of them play an instrument. Now you can go scientific and go back to the family tree and find out, did grandpa play an instrument? And then you find out no one in your family tree or your ancestral thing that we do once in a while to see where we came from shows any instruments in the family. So where did you get drumming? Well, God has blessed you like Bam, like Emerald Lagasse, and puts a little bit of spices on you and says, you're going to be a drummer. But it doesn't mean you're going to be a drummer at that degree, but you're going to be a drummer. And Chad, you're going to be a drummer, and you're going to be a guitar player, and you're going to be a chiropractor, and you're going to be a minister. So we all have these gifts that we should all share abundantly and not be jealous of this or that, because God doesn't just go, you're my special one, I'm going to give you more. That's not what we do. We should share each other's gift and respect each other's gift. Whether we in our mind think, oh, he's blessed more, he has a better body, he's better looking, or we're all equally designed, but differently. So back to the story, I did not choose drums. It chose me. I picked trombone because my grandfather played trombone, but grabbing this did not feel masculine. So doing this felt more masculine at 2. And that's where I gravitated towards. And once I knew that was my destiny, my brain still not developed, but I had the skills over at that time before YouTube, Facebook, MySpace, any of this stuff, even VHS tapes, that I started to develop quicker. And my parents knew I was going to be a musician. They just knew it. And they supported me. And if anyone's watching this and you're a parent, whatever your child picks, support them to the fullest degree. Because if someone says, I want to be the president, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. That could be your next president, but you stopped from that child to drive, to go for that goal, that dream. My parents never stopped my dream. They always added more to the dream. If this is what you want to do, these are the steps you got to do. Practice. That is not fun. So you are blessed, but you still have to work for that blessing. You still have to do more than just go, well, I'm just blessed, so I must be God's gift, I'm a prodigy. yeah, you might learn quicker than others, but it doesn't make you better. It just makes you a little more advanced. But if you get lazy and think that's what gets you all the way, this person that might not be as advanced will surpass you.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I knew I had a gift, I got lazy in my teens. I didn't seriously get completely infatuated with the craft until I was truly 18. Like 8 hours a day, motivation. Practice was not practice anymore. I enjoyed it. Like Zach Wiles says it. When you play a video game, you enjoy it. You don't think about, oh, this, but to get to the next level, you got to practice at it. So if you can find enjoyment in stuff that you don't think is fun, but then you can find enjoyment, you're just going to get to the next level after the next level, next level after the next level. Because now it's not practice, it's perfecting your craft.
Yeah, and when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
No.
I don't know if saying it feels easy is right, because there's sometimes it's still not easy, but you love every minute of it. You know what I mean? Even though it is work. But you had told me a story, because this is how much I know, just how much I know you love what you do. I would love if you share this again. Just the time when you were working in a factory and you were taking the ferry to play on weekends and falling asleep in the spring factory. I would love for you to share that, because it's just a testament, man, to just how hard, like people see the successful guy with the records and they see all that. They see the fame and everything.
The status.
They don't see just how much you grind to get there, and how many people grind and never get there. But you grind, and you did. So I would just love for you to share that story, because I found that to be so
cool. Yeah, thanks. So when I just was visiting my parents, we were talking about my life, and I've been very blessed to have a memory that I can go back to when I was 4. And my parents go, "How do you know that?" I don't even know that, but something triggers them and goes, "You're right. That did happen." Excuse me. So we were talking about this story, and my dad said, "You should write a book." But the problem is no one's going to believe it. It's that crazy of a life story. Not just drumming, just in general. It will be in fiction. Right? So I might write a book about this, because this journey of my drumming and just life in general sounds so false that you're like, oh my gosh, how did he do this? How did he struggle but overcome this? And again, God was in the mix of it all. But when I worked in the factory at that time, I already was in a signed band prior to that. I sold some records. I wouldn't say a lot, but I did Ozfest. I was on MTV. I was in ads and all that kind of stuff. I had endorsements at that point. Then I got humbled again, and I worked in a factory. And, I truly believe this, that enemy is on your shoulder at all times. And the good and the evil tug of war. It's depending on what voice sounds more comfortable to you to hear. Sometimes the one you don't want to hear is the one you need to hear. And the one you want to hear is not the one you want to hear. And so when you're finally got to that level that you were already signed a contract with, Immortal Records, which is Korn and Incubus and all them on that, 30 Seconds to Mars, you feel like you're the king of the world. You did it. But then the band falls apart. And you get back into your humble beginnings, and you're like, man, I would do anything. And we've said that. I would do anything if I get one more shot at it. Just give me one more shot. That thing just pops right on in. And this one says, just stay patient, Chad. It's going to happen. Just stay patient. It will happen. Trust me. Have faith. Be patient is the most important virtue. This guy's like, no. You give me this, I'll make it happen. Those are real things I've encountered. And so when I worked in the factory, I was getting pounded by that voice. Come on, do this for me. And I said, no, I'm going to work in a factory. Then I get a cover band gig. So now I'm in a factory, waking up at 5:30 in the morning, starting work at 6 to about 3:30. On the weekends, I got this gig with a guy named Bob Gatewood and the Calabash Band, taking a ferry, which mind you, I cannot stand.
Yeah, for those listening, Chad has a pretty big fear of water.
I'm like Mr. T on airplanes, but on boats. If anyone knows what the A-team is. But I would take a ferry and I would play 2 nights. And sometimes it was a day show and a night show on my supposedly days off. I still was working. Every Sunday before going on the ferry, we lived in a band room, like a dorm, and I'd open up the curtain of the window and I'd be like, oh man, it's raining. I don't want to get on the ferry. Those were my moments of like, why am I doing this? Right? And then I would take that ferry and it'd be like, and I'm outside drumming, getting my mind off. I'm not going to throw up. I'm not going to throw up. I'm not going to throw up. While everyone's inside going, why is this guy outside in the pouring down rain? I'm like, I'm not going to get sick. So those were like moments where I'm like, why am I still doing this? But again, if it chose you, you can endure it. So I would get home, sleep, and go back to work. And this happened for a couple years. And mind you, through that whole time, while I was working, on my lunch breaks, I was practicing, and they would say, Chad, why don't you just go out and get a gig? You're practicing on your lunch breaks. I literally played on like cardboard boxes. Now I'm not 21 anymore. I'm in my 30s at this point. Well, maybe late 20s. And anyways, I would fall asleep because I was so exhausted from the nights before playing. And people would see that in me, but they would see this drive. And when people see a drive, like, you know, you've seen like coaches talking about, you want to put yourself, like the hat that you gave me, you want to be a lion and not a sheep. If you're around motivating people, it's going to motivate you. If you're with lazy people, you're going to be with lazy people. So when people see this drive in me, like half asleep at my job because I'm working another job, but I'm passionate in that job, it might motivate them to go, you know what, I'm going to live my dream too. I guess we're a creature of our own habit, right? So what we see might motivate somebody. And so this happened for a while until I kept on making phone calls every week to my endorsees. Hey man, if there's a drummer that gets fired or some miraculously thing happens to him, mention my name, please. And they're like, absolutely. You're a great drummer, but we'll definitely keep the lookout. And I did it, and I did it, and I did it. It wasn't the first call. It wasn't definitely not the 19th call. It might have been the umpteenth call. And long and behold, great friend of mine, Chad Brandolini, who I'm back with Vader Drumsticks. Thank you, Chad. Mentioned that the drummer is no longer with Breaking Ben and they're having auditions. And long and behold, here I was playing for Breaking Ben. So anyone listening, dreams do come true. You just got to put faith, not just faith in yourself, but faith in the Lord, that if he knows that's where he wants you to be, he will put you there. And don't be discouraged that you're not there just yet.
Yeah, and I love the story about when you auditioned for Breaking Benjamin, because you had to submit a tape of you playing their songs.
Did you say tape or DVD? No, I think it was a tape. Yep, you're right.
Tape because you were the only one who submitted a tape, correct? Like to the point where, like,
unfortunately, yeah, I did. I sent a VHS tape.
So you
and things do happen for reasons, Case. And I know that's our worldly saying, things happen for reasons, our guts telling us this, or what a coincidence, you must have been lucky. But all those words have left me now, and it's just God, because I was the only one that put a VHS tape in the mail to go to Ben. There was no Dropbox. There were no streaming at that time where I could send a link. You literally mailed like a postcard to say how you were doing to your next loved one, couple, whatever. So long and behold, I'm getting filmed on a camcorder, not one of those nice small ones. And for some weird reason, my good bro that I used to be in a band with named Chad Dennis was going to convert this to a DVD, and it broke. So he goes, bro, I don't know how to tell you this, but my thing broke and I can only put it on a VHS tape. And I went, now, mind you, that was kind of obsolete at that time. DVDs were the thing now.
Yeah.
And I go, what do you mean? Dude, I don't even know if this guy's going to have a VCR. Long and behold, Ben had to dig it up out of his closet. He had a VCR. Puts a VHS tape in that VCR that probably had to get plugged in, and it probably smelled because he hasn't touched it since pterodactyls flew.
Yeah. Got to plug
and then
in
long and behold,
the white, the yellow, the red, like plug in the 3 cables.
Yeah. And long and behold, he watches that video. They all see it. And there's something they gravitated towards that they never saw with the other drummers. Probably because they're like, this is insane. I'm watching a VHS tape. It's probably like squiggly lines going.
Well,
right.
Anyway,
and the DVDs were probably alphabetical order, but there was thing God put abundantly on that tape and blessed it because there were no trick photography. There was no editing. There were no how many takes he did. If you watch the video that I had on YouTube many years ago in the church, that video where my pedal broke, I played through the song, and that's what got me the gig.
I remember that because you basically played the songs back to back with no breaks, no editing,
like a show.
And yeah, just like a show. And your pedal broke. And if people, this video is still on YouTube. You took your foot up over your snare drum to the other bass pedal and finished out the song without missing a beat. You know what I mean?
And mind you, I was still learning those songs, and I was not a double bass guy. Yeah. So when I listen back, I'm like, oh gosh, that's horrible. But that was not my will. That was the Lord's will.
Yeah.
So again, back to like I say, when he wants you there, he'll put you there. Patience is the most important virtue. And if you can endure what he gives us, because he gives us a lot, but he does. Why am I doing the Trump thing? But what he gives you a lot, when he gives you a lot, he never gives you to the point where it's so overwhelming you can't handle. And that's what he always put in my heart. I'm going to give you a lot of stuff, a lot of roadblocks, but you're going to make through it, and you're going to do it on your own. I'll guide you, but I'm not going to be Superman and mold you and keep you away from it. I want you to endure it. I want to show you you have the strength. We all have strength. It's just what we tolerate until we give up. It's too hard. Nothing's too hard.
Yeah, and you've really embodied that because you went into Breaking Benjamin, and for reasons that you can either share or not share, but it didn't work out, right? I mean, you did
It didn't work out. Yeah, definitely didn't work out.
2 major records with them, probably the highest level of success you'd ever experienced at that time. And then your opportunity with Black Label Society, which then you ended up leaving that to go with Scott Stapp. Scott Stapp didn't work out so well. And you kind of did that thing again. You're back in bars again at that point. And so, you still, that's one thing I've noticed about you is it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're at the top of the mountain or you're in bars, you've got that same passion. And you if anyone watches you in a bar, it's the same as watching you in the arena. You're exactly where God's calling you to be and where you want to be. And I just think that's freaking awesome, man. I want to ask you a little bit about faith, because I know that's a huge part of your life and you speak it constantly. But what's it like being sober and being a Christian guy in that environment where you're around that party lifestyle all the time? You're around, I would call them dark places, you know what I mean, spiritually. I mean, what's it like being kind of the lone Christian sober guy in that kind of setting? And how, I mean, is there any insecurity that comes with that? Is it tough? I mean, what's it like?
I'll be dead honest. It sucks. And what I mean by that, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, is they're like, well, you're a Christian, you have it easy. It is the hardest thing to be like Christ. We strive for it, but we fall short from the glory of God. We were made from dust and we will go back to dust. And that's how it is. And so when everyone's partaking in the partying and all that, it's the easiest thing to do to go and enjoy it with them. But also you have to be a lion and not a sheep. And sometimes you're going to get made fun of. Sometimes you might just put something in someone's brain and go, why is he not drinking with us? And then long and behold, years and years and years later, they call you out of the blue and go, because of you, I stopped drinking. Well, that wasn't what happened in the beginning of the get-go. If I would have known that, I would have been like, don't drink, don't do drugs. I'd be like that Smokey, or whatever that dare guy was at our schools and stuff, that mascot, don't do drugs, don't smoke, don't drink. But again, that was not the journey I was supposed to be at yet. So what really made me reflect on drinking and smoking cigarettes, because I smoked for many years, but I didn't smoke weed. I mean, don't get me wrong. I drank for like a year and I just didn't see any point of it. I don't think drinking's bad. It's a debauchery when it overtakes you and you can't control, and it's a whole nother personality people see, and not a Christ-like person that's trying to say you're Christian.
Yeah. So just to be clear, like you're sober just purely out of choice, not because of any alcoholism or addiction.
No, everyone says that. They're like, oh, so you battle alcohol. You must have been out. I'm like, no, this is what made me reflect. God has blessed me abundantly. And when I'm signing autographs to little kids and they see a cigarette in my mouth, or they see me pound down a shot or bong a beer or whatever, that gives them the cool thing I should do. So I wanted to be a role model, not as a rock star, but a person of God. So if you want to talk to me, we're going to have a God talk. I'm not saying you're going to hell, because I'm not that kind of Christian. I love you unconditionally, whether you're this, that, whatever. I won't judge you, but don't think I'm going to partake in your festivities. I can still be sober and have a great time with you. And if you don't accept that, then I need to lead that pack into a different pack. Like Zoltan, one of my best friends, like I've always said in conversations and podcasts and what have you, he really brought it home for me to go, you're in the darkest room, like the border of this podcast, not the purple and bluish violet wall that you are, or the room or the windows that are showing light. The border that you see right there, pitch dark. All you need to do is this, and it doesn't make that dark room so scary. So the reason I'm saying that is, if we could all just have that mentality of, can we be a candle in a dark room? It would change the perception of light and what it can possibly do in a dark room. So there are people that would want to take your little lighter or candle or your iPhone flash and try to smother it because it's too bright for them. They're like, man, just keep it dark in here. I want the vibe. Yeah. And your vibe is saying, no, I don't like dark. I want light in here. Make it more vibey. And so that's how I think from nowadays of you want to be a light in a dark room, whether that's sobriety and showing people I don't drink, you know?
Yeah. And that actually, there's a very famous chiropractor, BJ Palmer, who has a quote where he says it's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. And
that's a great way of saying it. It's like you guys in your profession where you say, turn the power on. Well, in a metaphorically way of saying that, it's like you're in a dark place. You're in pain. You're dizzy. You get headaches. You're just like off kilter. You know, you're like, man, I feel not myself. But when you go get adjusted by you guys, exclusively to you, it's called turn the power on for a reason. That all connects and you see the light again. You're like, where am I at? Where am I at? I think I'm in a chiropractor. Where do I live? When you get adjusted for the very first time, because you're not used to connecting your power back to your brain, to your spine, it all works as a frame of a house. But unfortunately, the glorification is the furniture, the wallpaper, the texture of the paint, but no one goes into a house and goes, wow, man, they framed this house really good.
Yeah, not often.
Not often. So you guys are the ones that frame houses, the ones that keep the structure, the integrity, and everyone else gets glorified, medicine and all that stuff, because it's right there for them to see. But they don't understand that we're the ones that connect the frame. If your frame is there, you can't move furniture in.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to what you're saying for sure. I mean, I say power's on to everybody after I adjust them, because
I learned it from you, because that's really what it is. I had it yesterday when I got adjusted.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I literally felt a light switch kick back on, and all my senses got back, and I'm like, my nose could start draining again. And you know, like I said to you many times, I was skeptic about chiropractors until I dislocated my shoulder in a drum solo, and I had nothing to other than to get adjusted. And the guy's like, have you ever had your neck adjusted? I'm like, no. And he went, and I was like, whoa, what just happened? Am I here? Am I here? Is there 4 walls? Like, it was like being in heaven is the only way I can describe it. It was so euphoric that the endorphins kicked in. It was not placebo, but it was something that I've had long discussions with you, and you're very knowledgeable, and you've taken chiropractor, in my opinion, to another level. And again, back to how we're all blessed equally, just differently. You were definitely blessed with your hands. And not that way, but in a way of healing people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
I appreciate that. I appreciate
you really do. And you educate people and tell them what you're doing and what this is going to do. And people are like, oh, what's he doing that? That doesn't do anything. But when they physically feel something, they might make the logic like we do with God and try to break it into simple forms that just let it go. Trust your chiropractor. He went to school for this, and he's not just done with school. He still is doing investigations and experimenting and trying to be better and better every single day to make you feel better. What is so wrong about that? You know, it's like,
I mean, I think it's a lot like your craft, man. I mean, you've never arrived. You know what I mean?
No, I wish you could. I'd be like, we're done. I can retire.
Yeah.
You can't do anymore. But it's like every day you drive a car, you can get better at it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense though? But it's like, how do you get better at driving? You do.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, and I'm sure you've learned this with drumming, I've learned it with drumming, is the better you get, the more you realize you don't know. You know what I mean? The higher levels you get, the more you realize there is beyond your knowledge.
And the closer you get to God, the less you know.
Yeah, and it's same with what I do. I learn something new every single time I'm in the office. But yeah, the reason why chiropractic works so well is it and this is what's kind of unique about our profession is it works well because God designed you fearfully and wonderfully. He designed you brilliantly. Healing is hardwired into who you are. I start every single person who comes into my office with that. We start every person with a very strong understanding that your body is designed to heal itself. God designed you to heal. It's hardwired into who you are. And the way healing happens, your brain is the master control center for all of it, sends messages down your spinal cord, out the nerves to every organ, tissue, and cell in your body. There is no other way. We have an electrical system. And when the brain can communicate with the body can communicate with the brain, and it can coordinate all those processes of healing, the body heals, right? And what we do in chiropractic is we're looking at how the structure of the body, particularly the spine, can affect that communication in the body, because the position of the spine matters. It'll affect nerves. It'll affect that brain-body communication. And once you clear everything out, I say power's on because we got that electrical system communicating and out of the body.
Absolutely. I don't believe in the universe or energy or this or that, but this is a different energy. This is an energy the Lord gave us to receive. And so the reason I use God in everything that I do is because he's the greatest creator. He's the best scientist. He's the best healer. So when Jesus was a young person walking the streets, aimlessly just walking and preaching and healing, there were believers that didn't even believe. When people saw you, when you would visit me and adjust me, and I will never forget this, you had me read this way. And for some reason, I couldn't read all the words. It was slow. Then you adjusted, which you put your thumb into my roof of my mouth. And I'm like, what are you doing? I've never had this before. Right. And it's like being with your wife and she goes, you've never done this before. Why all of a sudden you're doing this? It changed the mood. It was something I never received from another chiropractor. So when you did that, I was like, and you're like, cough. And I was like, oh, right. Then you had me read backwards. And I did it so fluently, I didn't think, it just naturally went, and everyone witnessed that. And some of them were like, oh, Chad's in cahoots with Casey. Well, guess what? I never got a PayPal dollar bill in my or money in my PayPal account from you. It's God is my witness. I'm not your sidekick and going, let's get this guy. I'm going to be Billy Mays. Let me sell this to him in 4 easy installments. I wish I would. I'd be a millionaire. But they physically, mentally witnessed that.
Yeah.
And then they started getting adjusted by you. They're like, I'm next. Well, I'm glad now that you've bashed them for this many years like I did. Now you want to partake in it. And I was the guinea pig to prove to all you that it works. So I don't think you guys do voodoo magic or whatever anyone has classified it. It's literally no different how Jesus healed, in a way of let the Holy Spirit guide you. There's been many testimonies of you and many testimonies of chiropractors that said they went the doctor route with medicine.
Yeah.
And for some weird reason, they ended up in your office, and now they don't have that issue anymore. Now, I'm not saying medicine is not a cure. It does help in ways. Like when I got my gallbladder and appendix, there is nothing you're going to do to adjust my neck if they're about to explode.
Yeah. And I want to be clear on something. I mean, medicine has its places where it shines. And, if you're in an acute situation where your appendix is about to burst, that's a go to the hospital situation. That is a go see the brilliant men and women in medicine who can perform the appropriate surgery, give you the drugs you need in an emergency situation. Problem is, a lot of the people who come to my office have been everywhere else. They've seen medical doctors, they've been on drugs, and people turn to that system first when they should. And the reason that's a problem is when you go the drug route first, a drug never addresses the underlying root cause of the issue.
Temporary Band-Aid.
Yeah, it'll manage a symptom, it'll manage a disease process temporarily. But if you really want to heal, you have to address the underlying root cause. And so that's why I
Hands
tell
down.
people, yeah, that's why I tell people, who it is, that's what we want to do is we want to address the underlying root cause. Is medicine bad? No. Are drugs bad? There's debate there, but
I mean, we could like here, not to interrupt you, but
yeah, go.
I use metaphors and analogies. We call them Chadisms in my hometown. So you're the wood of framing a house. You're very important. We need that structure.
Mm-hmm.
Medicine is drywall and mud to cover the nails. They're both equally needed. But sometimes we put too much mud to fix an imperfection that all along it was the frame.
Yeah.
And if it's shifting, no matter how much drywall and mud you put, it's telling you the foundation isn't right. It's not secure. Something got loose here. The more mud you put on it, it's just fixing the problem for you to see at that moment of the wall. But long and behold, from time to time, that wall will start shifting and cracking. And as much mud as you want to put, it's going to deteriorate.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it said.
Is that a good Chadism? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the one I've heard that probably most matches what you just said is chiropractors are like Home Depot, medicine's like the fire department. You know what I mean? If you're having an issue at home, most of the time it's go to Home Depot, get what you need to make the repair. You don't call the fire department first, right? So that's kind of the analogy that I tend to use. Where is there a time and a place for a drug? Yes. Is there a situation where we are reaching the limits for the healing that your body can do on its own because there's so much damage there, and maybe a drug or a surgery is the necessary option here? Absolutely. But most people,
both important, right? Both important.
Yeah.
Melody and rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rhythm doesn't give enough respect, but I don't hear someone driving down the hood listening to a cappella rap.
That's true.
But I don't hear people singing drum beats either.
Yeah.
So each part is very important that we have to lean on and respect each other's craft, but not crap down their throat about it and go, well, medicine sucks. I'm the key to the world. It's like, there are times for medicine, but let's also say chiropractors are the time for medicine too.
Yeah. It's what do you need at this moment? For some people in an emergency situation, that's emergency medicine. But most people who come into my office, they're on drugs that are unnecessary. I mean, that happens so often.
I've witnessed it.
They were put on drugs.
I've witnessed that.
Yeah, they were put on drugs first, and there was no effort to address the underlying root cause, no changes made to lifestyle, no examination of what's going on in their environment that's causing their health problem. Just take the drug. And so what we find is we get people healthy enough where they don't need to be on the drugs anymore, and they work with their medical doctor and come off of them because they were put on the drug too soon. Or sometimes it really was necessary for them to be on it for a time until we could build their system back up where they had their own strength and their body was healing at a higher level and they could handle coming off of it. But yeah, it's all about time and place and what's the state of your body. Are you at the point where you're at that emergency state where you need that? Or are you in a place where we've got some time and we can address the underlying root cause without going there? And most people who come through my doors, at least, we're able to keep them keep them to the point where they end up not needing medication. And
right. Or
just about everybody who comes in doesn't want to be on them. So, yeah.
Excuse me. So look at it like this. You guys don't get enough credit, but everyone at this point puts their faith in a pill. Okay. The reason a lot of people don't go to chiropractors there are bad chiropractors and there's great chiropractors. And there's that one bad chiropractor that ruined it for that person's experience. So they go right back to medicine. But then look what medicine has done with side effects. Look what medicine has done to other things of getting hooked on drugs, to committing suicide. look what a chiropractor did when he got adjusted and the person got dizzy and now has to see the right chiropractor and is traumatized. You cannot, just because of one bad experience, exclude it and not give it one more shot. And what I mean by that is I've been more to chiropractors than I ever did to medicine. And if it works for me, then it should be fine for me. I'm not saying go to chiropractor, that's where you need to go, even though you're having heart issues. But I'm saying there is a what if you do both and you feel better at a chiropractor, you have to admit that.
Yeah, I mean, it is challenging.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give credit where credit's due. If Ben wrote a drum part from Breaking Ben, I've given him credit. I can't take credit. People are like, man, I love your drumming and blow me away. And I'm like, thanks. I can't say that. It's just in my spirit to not accept that courtesy from another person complimenting me when I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't take credit for something that you know you can't take credit for. And that's what I've witnessed with chiropractors. I physically have seen it. If they turn your head when you first meet them for the first time, they go, are you dizzy? Are you seeing black or anything? And if they go, yeah, they go, we can't adjust you. You need to go see a doctor. I've never seen a doctor do something and go, oh, I can't, you got to go see a chiropractor. They'll go, no, we'll give you a cortisone shot.
Yeah.
With a needle this big.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that goes into our training because we are trained to look for red flags and things that are basically scream to us, hey, this person needs to go to the hospital. This person needs an emergency visit. So we are trained for stuff like that. And, they're kind of the end of the road, right? Emergencies, that's where you go. So they're less trained, I would say, to feed people the other direction. But we do see that. I mean, I've definitely seen that plenty where people who should have been referred to something more conservative, like a chiropractor or a naturopath, weren't. They were put on a drug and said, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life. And I think that's a disservice, to do that. And if it's possible to address the underlying root cause and you're not, I think that you're doing a disservice.
I might get in trouble for saying this, but it's like the vaccine. If it helps you, awesome. But everyone should have an opinion, a right to say, I don't feel I want to do it. But don't yell at me. If it feels that I'm confident I'll be fine, then let me go to my chiropractor.
Yeah, that's one. I think that was the biggest issue that I took, and people like me took with the vaccine was the mandates, the mandate piece of it. I am all for it's
Correct.
Your body. If it's your body, you get to be the steward of that. You get to make all the decisions as far as what goes onto your body, what kind of healthcare you choose. I get to make my recommendations to you, but it is not my place to force something on you that I believe is good for you.
It's like a seatbelt. Why are you giving me a ticket? I wanted to go through the windshield. I mean, seriously.
Similar idea, yeah.
Why are you protecting me? I didn't want to be protected.
Yeah, I mean, that debate could spread into a lot of different things. I think this
apples and oranges, but I mean, that's truly like saying no different than the vaccine, which I was not a fan of. And the reason I was not a fan and I felt the Spirit was talking to me was the Holy Ghost is, if you're going to take my job from me, you're not helping me out. That's like you going, well, if you don't get adjusted, then you're not allowed to go to the doctor for medicine. When you have those moments of not peace, as Zoltan will say, if it's not of peace, it's not of God. If something, whether we'll talk in the realm of our world or in the spiritual realm, if it's sensing a gut or the Holy Ghost talking to you, you go with that before anyone else is involved. That's why Chad stays sober. That's why Chad did not partake in parties. And that's why Chad loves what he does, no matter if he sells records or not.
Yeah, that's a great message, man. I think that's something a lot of people need to hear. Yeah, we're definitely on the same page. There was so much about that jab that didn't feel right to me, and I think
Yeah,
for
I
me,
mean, I don't think we even need to address it. We just allow God to work the way he is. And I'm sure we've seen enough with the vaccine that you still get sick.
oh yeah, and unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of stuff beyond.
And we
just,
justify, but you don't get as sick. Well, guess what? I've had COVID so many times, I should name it my last name.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the longer it's been out, the more.
There's people that have lost their lives, and I pray for those people. But if we didn't put it on a TV like Call of Duty and showed achievements, you would never know.
Yeah, it's my friend Dr. Ted Corin called it a flu with a press agent.
Yeah, it was like a video game. It's like, well, today's fatality rate is Johnny Cage wins. It's like, wait, why are we putting this on CNN and Fox and all the news of how many people died? I don't want to know that.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that was the case, let's go put it Chicago right now of murders. I guarantee you ain't going to go watch the Chicago Bulls and take a vacation, right?
Yeah, and we could do an entire podcast just on COVID, man, because there was so much with that, so much deception, so much exaggeration, so much, yeah.
And it's coming out.
Yep, that's the thing.
Like my mom has said it, and I'm really dwelling on this, and this is one scripture my best friend gave me. And you will never have to read the Bible by just this one scripture. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Don't be deceived. Everyone that's hearing this, repeat. Do not be deceived. Do not mock God. You'll reap what you sow. What you eat is what you crap out. If there's something telling you probably shouldn't eat Taco Hell because you're going to shoot out hot fire, you'll reap what you sow when you go through a whole thing of toilet paper. I'm not sticking up for it, but I vape. I don't think it's the best thing. It's definitely probably better than cigarettes, but so is oxygen is probably the best thing you need. When I get nicotine poisoning or this and my stomach hurts and I go to the toilet for 9 hours and write a novel about it, I reap what I sow.
Yep,
so
it's all about choice.
The reason I'm saying this, as he said, you could live on this Bible verse for the rest of your life, is the honest God truth. God is always telling us, do not do it. But I gave you a free will. Do what you want to do. But when you do it, what you're going to reap, what you take in, is what you're going to sow.
Yep. We get to make choices, and then we get to experience the consequences, good or bad, of our choices.
And hopefully they're not fatal, but they're enough of an awakening to go, yeah, I don't think I'm going to drive the wrong way again down the wrong road.
Yeah. You either get a good result or you get some wisdom that hopefully informs your next decision.
Hey, if you want TikTok views and Instagram views and you want to eat as many Reaper chili peppers and you want to look cool, just what you reap, what you sow, you might be just shouting out hot fire.
Well, on that note, we're
right.
I know we're going long, man. So I know you got tour stuff to get ready for, all that good stuff. Anytime I close out, I do love to give. I know you've just maybe given what you want to be your last word, but is there a last word from Chad Szeliga that you feel like the world could use right now?
I just feel that we all need to be silent, patient, and listen more to God than we ever have. And that is our spirit he has given us of the Holy Ghost to make the decisions that we think we should make when he's saying that's not a good one. Do not be deceived. Do not mock God. You'll reap what you sow. And what I've reaped is practicing. And what I've sowed is practicing. What I've reaped is platinum status. And I can never no one can ever take that away from me. It's not gloating. It's not saying I'm better than you. It's saying if I can do that, anybody can if they just put some time and believe in the Lord. When he guides you home, he's guiding you in the right spot.
I love it, man. Chad Szeliga, thank you, brother. I appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate you coming on. And
always, it's a blast and it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and whenever you're ready, whenever you guys are dropping a record or you got a tour to talk about, let's do this again.
Yeah, we're definitely working on. We have 8 songs done with Turning the Tide, and I'm really happy where it's going, and we're looking forward to the future with that too. And I have other things in the woodwork as well.
Cool. Where can people find you who want to connect with you and watch you and catch your music, all that stuff?
Instagram, just Chad Szeliga. Facebook at Chad Szeliga. YouTube at Chad Szeliga. I try to keep it simple so I remember how to go on my own stuff.
Cool. And then your band's website is turningthetideband.com.
Correct. Yeah, you can check out. That will link you to our Facebook, our Instagram. Please, subscribe to our Instagram. It'll keep you up to date on there. Our website will keep you up to date on our dates. If you'd love to come and meet me or meet the band, we would love to meet you as well. And I really think this band is so blessed and an amazing group of people, talented and personality, and just being humble in their talent. And I've learned a lot from them. Whether I'm 47, here's another nugget. You can always learn from someone younger than you.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers at an adult age either. We can still learn. We're still students. We're not the teachers like we think we are.
Yeah, so my East Coast friends, catch one of these guys' shows. They're incredible. I haven't actually seen you play with Turn the Tide yet, so I gotta get that on the list. When I come see you, maybe I'll have to time that when you guys are actually
I'll send you a link of Misery Business. We just recorded live. No editing. You'll think it's edited, but it's no editing.
Oh man, you playing Misery Business? That's one of my favorite drum parts, so I will definitely be checking that out.
Well, be kind. Be kind if you know it that well. I try to do the best I can.
I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Chad, thank you, brother.
Absolutely. Be safe.